Let's continue the part of the conversation as we look at the position of the IMF and, of course, what the central bank is doing in terms of FX intervention. But the IMF is calling it excessive intervention. So let's bring in our second guest now to look at it from another perspective. Mr. Katsimu Garba Kofi, it's MD, CEO, APT Security and Mutual Funds. He joins us via the Zoom call now. Thank you, Mr. Kofi, for joining us. We appreciate your time. Yeah, thank you for your time. Now,
thank you for inviting.
What's your position or what's your take on the IMF position? The International Monetary Fund is expressing worry about the possible long-term implications of the CBN excessive intervention in Forex. First, I would like to ask you, is there anything such as excessive intervention, and what does this imply?
Well, you see, these are relative terms. Relative term in the sense that there is no single policy advocated by the central bank without IMF contribution. I remember when they did the e-Naira, instead of hailing us, they say they fear that this will be another way of laundering money. When CBN come with the RT 200 billion, they make their comments. So I'm not surprised now for raising issue on this. The reality is true. If you continue depending your currency, you are likely going to reach a point that it will cost you more. We are all living testimony what is happening in the oil subsidy. The oil subsidy that is running into billion now is running into trillion. And not any country will like to continue spending much on the subsidy. So CBN intervention, if you look at it today, the official rate is about 418, 415 per dollar. But when you go to the parallel market, you trade between 570 to 580. The differences is very wide enough. And the implication of this, it denies the foreign inflow into the country. Because today, as I'm talking to you, our foreign inflow in the equity market reduced to only 25% in the year 2022, compared to 54% in the year 2015. The same thing when you look at the inflow and the outflow. The inflow as far back as 2017, the foreign inflow portfolio was as high as 64% of our market transaction. Well, the outflow was just mere 36%. Today, as I'm talking to you, the inflow is 46, the outflow is 55, meaning more is taken than more is bringing into the country. And these are the foreign portfolio. Why do they do that? Because they are not satisfied with the exchange rate. Had it been is allowed to exchange at the parallel market, you will see more inflow. And the same thing with the Nigerian diaspora. There was an incentive of 5 naira per dollar. But who will take that to bring your dollar at 4.18 just to enjoy 5 naira? Well, you are free to sell your dollar to any Nigerian at 5.80. So the government or the CBN in particular, they have to see that, yes, there is a need for intervention at a particular period, but not all the time. And that would to bring the scarcity of the foreign exchange. But don't forget, CBN has a policy. They have banned the Bureau de change from intervention. And they promised to do the same with the banks by 2020 December. So if that happens, probably that will reduce the excessiveness that IMF is seeing. And if they allow that to work, it may likely going to not have the fear they have the fear on.
Pardon me to come in here. At this point, you said that the gap between the official exchange rate and the black market is too wide. What percentage will be okay in this regard?
Well, the truth of the matter that the government should have adopted a policy whereby those who want to buy it at that, because if they exchange it at that rate, they earn more naira, they earn more revenue for the federal, for the state, for the local government. So I will have loved to see CBN from time to time those parallel market and supply them. When they supply them, they get more naira. When they get more naira, you will see less demand. When you see less demand,
hello, Mr. Kofi.
Yes.
Yes, continue, please.
Without intervention in the parallel market, the gap keeps on widening.
And so what are the options here? I mean, if CBN doesn't intervene in the Forex market by pumping more dollars, what are the options left on the table?
Allow those who are bringing their dollar to allow them to go through that. You know, if you are bringing dollar, you have to exchange it. You have to get certificate of importation. And having got certificate of importation, then you have to exchange it at the official rate. And this discourages more inflow. And if you allow those who are coming, I just told you that the foreign portfolio in our equity market has reduced to 25%. We need more inflow so that it will improve the liquidity of the capital market. So why don't you allow those foreign portfolio? You come for trade, okay, bring your money at the parallel market. If you want to exchange it 580, exchange it 580. But at any given time you are going outside the country, go to the same market and buy your dollar and get out of it. If the government will do that, particularly by the CBN, you will see more inflow and the gap will reduce to the BRS minimum. And it's a win-win situation because we need more liquidity to trade in the equity market.
So how soon do you think, or how, how soon do you think the government can start, taking these steps you're talking about? Because it seems that the government perhaps is not even talking about it. Because in the last MPC meeting, the CBN, committee didn't even talk much about the Forex market or the crisis in the Forex market. Are you worried about that?
Yes. Well, but the truth of the matter, he knows what is going on there. You have banned over 3,000 BRD licensed by you from supply. Why don't you make it free for them, take the money at whatever rate and sell? They have to do it through the bank. And if they allow them with that, you will see more inflow into that market and allow some windows, especially to foreign portfolios, to say, okay, foreign portfolio, you are free to bring your money, trade at the parallel market, and if you are taking your money outside the country, go to the same parallel market and trade your money. If they do that, you will see more inflow, and when you see more inflow, it will reduce the gap between 580, it may come to 500 or 480, because the more supply to that window, the less the price rise.
What's the implication? Should the CBN stop the sales, like you rightly said earlier, that the CBN is likely to stop the sales of Forex to the commercial banks? What's the implication of that on the exchange rate?
The implication of that, it will widen the gap between parallel market and the official market. Because as at today, most of the dollars sell by the crude oil routed through CBN. So will the CBN allow those windows to be routed otherwise? If not, then where will they get the supply to meet of the yearning demands of Nigerians? So the implication is that you don't open the window, you close it, then you widen in the gap. If you give alternative to it, okay, other oil company, if you want to bring your dollar, go to the parallel market. That will widen the supply. And when there is more supply, the price will go down.
Interesting. But let me also ask you, Mr. Kofi, I mean, there are some structural, fundamental issues here. The position of the IMF, really, it's apart from the fact that they have also handpicked the issue of excessive intervention, which they said it may not be sustainable. They talk about the fact that if there is macro-prudential policy measures, all right, and capital flow measures, that can help enhance monetary policy autonomy and then also improve financial and price stability. How do you, address all of these that this IMF has put on the table as well? And what changes will it bring into the foreign exchange should all of these suggestions are implemented?
If all these suggestions were implemented, it will make a supply, because you will get more supply, because you are no longer doing it more inflow into the bank and into the security chain to whoever is needed in foreign exchange. And we know the law of demand and supply. The more you supply, the less the price go down. And the less the price go down, the better for the market. Because whether you like it or not, despite the official exchange rate, every product you buy in Nigeria, they are rating according to parallel market, not official rate. Because nobody got sufficient enough dollar. Whatever you got, you have to go to parallel market and augment it. And therefore, you choose to use the parallel market price to price all your product. And now we are paying the price twice. So what we are saying, allow that window to be free. And when it is free, exchange at your market rate, and there will be more inflow. When there is more inflow, definitely the price will go down. And when the price go down, it will be better for you and me, because every other person will retreat through that rate.
What is the difference, between the IMF suggestion that the CBN will probably have to increase the interest rate to ensure that it attracts more foreign investment? How true is that statement? What change do you think it will bring into the market, or the change it will bring into the foreign exchange market?
Well, you see, the truth of the matter that in the developed market, their interests are single digit. You hardly see up to 5%. Go to US, go to UK, go to Europe, you hardly see up to 5%. And what we are saying, so if you give your rate, let's say 13%, 15%, it is 3 times what they earn in their local community. So they are willing to bring the dollar into Nigeria, exchange it into Naira, and buy either our treasury bill or buy our euro dollars. If they buy it in dollar, they hedge against the inflation. Today, go and see, most of the federal government bond launched in the Europe, they are charging between 7 to 8%, which is on the high side. Ordinarily, we shouldn't have taken money more than beyond 5 to 6%. But we are now increasing to 8% because we are in desperate need of this money. And then forget they pay us in dollar, we pay them back in dollars.
Right.
Therefore, whatever the interest rise is an additional cost for the services of the debt by the federal government and CBN in particular.
Now, just before we wrap up on this conversation, talk to us about the fact that the CBN plans to stop the sales of Forex to the commercial bank by the end of this year. And you have also talked about the implications of that as well. Now, what options do you think the CBN will apply or will use should they close the current window?
Well, if they close the current window, they must allow those who are supplying the CBN to be free to supply the banks. Because you cannot tie somebody's hand and leg and ask him to move. Who collect the foreign exchange into Nigeria is CBN. And if CBN say that, okay, bank, go and look for it, the source should be relieved by the CBN to say you can sell to anybody. And if they do that, more inflow into the bank and the price differences will crash.
Well, I think we'll just have to leave it there. I wanted to ask you more questions, but we're pressed for time on this particular conversation. But I need you to hang on, Mr. Kofi, because when we come back, we turn our attention to looking at the ECOWAS Commission trying to formulate some agreement that will take us further than this. So I need you to just stay with us here. Well, you're still watching Business Breakfast. Coming up after this break, ECOWAS Commission begins formulation of regional agreement of the Afcfta implementation strategy. We'll take a look at how Nigeria is positioning for the 1.3 billion African market. And that's in a moment. This is Business Breakfast. Please stay with us. Glad to have you back now. The ECOWAS Commission continue its consultation with state and non-state actors on the formulation of the ECOWAS regional implementation strategy for the agreement of the African Continental Free Trade Area last week, with a view to ensuring that the Afcfta outcomes are consistent with the regional advancement and that the agreement built on the ECOWAS. The Commission is accelerating the development of a regional implementation strategy, taking a participatory and inclusive approach. So let's look at how Nigeria is positioning for the 1.3 billion African market in this regard with this formulation. Mr. Kofi Garba, Kofi is the MD, CEO, APT Security and Mutual Funds. He's still here with me talking about this particular discussion. Thank you, Mr. Kofi, for your time. I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. I mean, the last time we talked about the payment, that he's talking about the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System, which we saw that it's one step ahead of the African Continental Free Trade Area, and of course the benefit. Now we're talking about the fact that the members or the ECOWAS Commission is trying to consult with member states to look at how to formulate a strategy. And this came to play last week. So what is your take on this development, and what is it, or what is the need for Nigeria?
Well, I think the African Continental Free Trade Area is one paradigm shift that Africans have taken in doing business amongst themselves. And there is no better time to realize this than now. Knowing fully where the European and US take one camp, Russian and Ukraine in another camp, and they are fighting each other. And whether we like it or not, when there is this kind of crisis, the Africans will be affected. So it's better we decide to trade among ourselves. That will relieve us from dependence on those continental or being involved in the crisis that we are not a party to. So ECOWAS take a right step by re-strategizing to look at, yes, there is African Continental Free Trade Area that is coming. What is our take as a region? ECOWAS. Remember, in ECOWAS, we have 15 countries. Out of these 15 countries, 12 countries have already internally set a strategy or a department or a ministry that will look at the African Continental Free Trade Areas within their countries. And this is a good development for ECOWAS. 12 out of 13, that gives you about 80%. And what next? That they now had a meeting to look at it. Look, what are the outcomes of this? Is it inconsistent with regard to our strategies that internally we have set for the ECOWAS? They review it. And it's good to review it because within the ECOWAS, we have gone far ahead of the other 4 regions. You know, in Africa, we have 5 regions. ECOWAS, we have Northern region, we have North Center, we have African Central, then we have Eastern region, and South Africa region. So, but among all the 5, the most effective and widely implemented is the ECOWAS. Because today, from here, you can go to Ghana without any visa. And we all know this. And this is not what obtained in the other region. We are now coming with the currency, a simple currency that if you try, you can trade it across the 15 nations without any minor of exchange rate. Now we have discussed about the system of payment so that your ATM will walk across the West African country without any issues. So they look at it and they see that is this strategy of the Afcfta, is it in alliance with our regional development? They look at it. They also look at it, is the agreement built on the ECOWAS acquis? Because already ECOWAS, they have built their legal and so many arrangements. So is this in alliance with their own? If it is not, where do they need to change? They also look at it to look at the accelerated development strategies already put by ECOWAS for the year 2050. Is this Afcfta in alliance with their regional strategies for 2050? So they are looking at all these strategies to see where do they need to make some amendment. And if they are in order, let everybody ensure that we work closely and for the better of the region and for the better of individually and collectively. I think ECOWAS have done the nice thing.
There are key recommendations from the consultation meeting which held last week, or about almost 2 weeks ago. Now, one of them is to ensure alignment with the ECOWAS Vision 2050, strengthen linkages with national Afcfta implementation strategies, focus on improving the competitiveness of businesses in the region, including mobilization of resources to implement the regional and national EFC implementation strategies. Now, break it down for us. How key, maybe you need to break this Vision 2050, this ECOWAS Vision 2050 for us. What are they, and how significantly will it impact the region? Let's take it from there.
In the ECOWAS Vision 2050, they want to see by Vision 2050, we almost have the same features and alignment in our ECOWAS passport. That is why today, if you look at Nigerian ECOWAS passport, it doesn't show you Nigeria, it shows you ECOWAS. So they want the other African country also digitalize their passport to be in alignment with our standards. So it will be digital across. If you are banned to enter Senegal, the same information will be available for the immigration officers of Nigeria, and they can see it all. So if you are banned in Senegal, you are banned in Nigeria. And what does that mean? If we have the same features, you will see that the treatment they are giving us outside the country because of the upgrade of our passport will be the same applied to entire West Africa. Not only that one, they want to have single currency. Europe, they have European currency. They want African to use ECOWAS to use ECOWAS currency. You know, there was a time the press wanted to ambush us. Nigeria said, no, you cannot do that. Let African be ready for African ECOWAS, not swapping CFA into ECOWAS currency. They stopped that one, and they now decided to have their ECOWAS currency. And these are part of the Vision 2050. Not only that one, they want to have gas pipeline. Nigeria has abundance of gas. Many of West African countries, they don't have. They want Nigerian pipe gas to reach all those countries. So therefore, they can encourage their sense of productivity and their power generation. So we have almost the same level. We also want to make sure that every African country works to its advantage.
Okay.
If you are advantages in cocoa, let's produce more of it. If my advantage is groundnut, let me produce more of it, so that we complement each other rather compete among ourselves.
Now, how close are we to implementing or actualizing the vision, or do we have to wait for 2050 to start implementing this? Because you said earlier that from here to Ghana, I mean, should be free without a passport, as it were, or visa. I mean, but as it currently stands, it seems that that is not the case. So do we have to wait till 2050 before we can start implementing some of these visions or goals?
We don't need to wait for 2050 to implement most of them, but they need funds. And you know, hands are not equal. I'm telling you, today we have no issue with the digitalized passport. But not all West Africans have digitalized passport. And they need money to do that. We need pipe gas to not only stop in Ghana, but to reach Senegal. And this, you need funds to do that. We also need railway, not road. We want, as we have across the border with the sea, we want to also have a rail line that from Nigeria down to Senegal, you can go and come back. And all these need funds. Then the issue of insecurity. If you remember, today, we know where Mali is. So this issue of insecurity, we need to be addressed, even the same with the Nigerian. But if we address it squarely, it will be peace for all. Because a break of peace of any ECOWAS country will affect the rest. As we witness what happened to Libya, now today, Nigerian and West African are paying the same price. So we want to make sure that we realign our security strategies to ensure that we are free from all this. And wherever you go, we can easily identify you because we have your data without necessarily going to your country. So we need all this, and they need to get seriousness and commitment of the members, not to be rule and bite. You remember when we name our ECOWAS currency as ECOWAS currency. Cookle, France, Frankfurt, they want to advise them to change their own CFA to ECOWAS until the time Nigeria stopped them. So we need to get a common goal, a common focus, a common vision and objective. And these, if we work tightly, will reach there, but it will take us longer than necessarily because of inconsistent among the members.
Now, currently, inter-African exports, as it stands now, only account for about 16% of Africa's global export, and most specifically, ECOWAS trade only account for about 10th of the ECOWAS countries' global trade. So let's look at these. What do you think we have to look at or must be done to increase the volume of trade within the ECOWAS region, and more importantly, between ECOWAS and the rest of Africa?
Well, that statistic is the formal statistic.
Okay, is the formal, what's the current statistic as it is?
A lot of, no, what...
Hello, Mr. Kofi. Hello, Mr. Kofi. Well, I'm sure that... Hello, Mr. Kofi, are you there?
Yes, I'm there.
Oh, okay. You said that's the formal, statistics. So what's the current at the moment, and what's your assessment of the current statistics?
That more than 2 times of that size is done informal. A lot of Ghanaians, Nigerian, Togo, Benin, Mali, Senegal exchange trade without formal recording it. And because they are not formally recorded, so you are only dealing with the formal, the one that is non-government to government. But I assure you, 2 times of that size is being traded along the borders. One, we have porous borders where you cannot even take the records. And a lot of our transactions are informal, cash by cash, not by transfer. And therefore, by the time you bring this all together, you will see that our statistic will be more than 20%. But that is not even good enough compared to Europe, compared to Asia, where they are talking between 40 to 60% within themselves. We should aim to be that. And this can only be achieved by the time we align our payment system. Once we align our payment system, it will give you the clear picture of what comes in and what goes out. And therefore, we'll have a proper recording and we'll have a better statistic. And it will be best for all of us.
Now, let's bring it back home here now. What do you think? Africa is 1.3 billion people in terms of population. So where do you think Nigeria needs to position on, and what are the things that we need to start doing to also take part of this market in terms of share market?
Yes. In terms of population, we can say maybe we are 20% of the African, but in terms of demand of the products, we are far ahead of that because of our appetite to the foreign goods. Today, if you look at it in terms of volume of transaction, Nigeria is one of the major players of the African economies. And therefore, our demand for the products and demand for most of the foreign goods is much very high. And that takes us more than 20% of the entire economy of Africa, but 25%. And don't forget, we have a team of growing population. Today,
pardon me, Mr. Kofi, are you saying that the rest of Africa, in terms of demand from the market in Nigeria, it's high? Is that what you're saying? Or you are saying the demand,
Nigerian demand of the African product is higher than what they demand from Nigeria.
But the question I'm asking now is that how can we increase, the rest of Africa's demand for Nigeria's product? That's what I'm asking.
We can increase it by the intervention of our government and the CBN. They have intervened in the producing of rice. And today, we are almost sufficient. They also assisted in the producing of cement. Today, we are net exporter. If they apply the same with Gari, they apply the same with other products produced by Nigeria, it's just a matter of time, will be the net exporter. And when we are the net exporter, we'll widen our market in view of the fact that the large scale of economy work for Nigerian, because Nigerians have the market, have the size. So some of the factory that you cannot take them to a country that has a population of less than 5 million. When you have a market that have internally 210 million. So with this, major investors would like to come to Nigeria if you have a large industry to play it, because internally you have the market and we are more central. From Nigeria to Egypt, from Nigeria to Senegal, from Nigeria to South Africa, to Nigeria to Kenya, we are more equidistant. If you take all the rest, you will see they are not. So Nigeria is a natural hub to Africans. In the West Africa, we can take care of them. North Africa, we are not far from them. Central Africa, they are not far from us. South Africa is the same thing. If you take South Africa to Egypt, or you take Egypt to South Africa, compared to Nigeria to Egypt, Nigeria to South Africa, Nigeria to Kenya, Nigeria to Senegal, you will see we are the natural hubs. So by even the placing of the nature, we are more central and we are more equidistant to reach any other place. It's just to put our house in order. If we do that, the sky is our limit.
Well, I think you need to leave it there. I think Nigeria perhaps stand in advantage position to take more from this agreement. Thank you very much, Mr. Garba Kofi. He's the CEO, MD, APT Securities and Mutual Funds. Thank you for your time on Business Breakfast.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.